ghosts and ghouls, demons and aliens, monsters and worse. Only here on Ghost or What, the best channel for original scary stories. Our next story is Black Witch Encounter with Woodcutter. The story that I am narrating today is almost 30 years older. It was the time when I was young and used to work for a wood company. I used to cut wood for the company, and they used to make things out of it. I had been to several places for the cutting person and never experienced anything until this time. For woodcutting purposes, I used to take only 1 or 2 men with me. Like any other time, I had taken 2 men with me. We were busy with our work when all of a sudden, the tree got out of hand and the way was blocked. Luckily, we stayed safe. I was staying on one side, while the other 2 were on the other side. I asked them to bring more tools for further breaking the tree and making our way out. They obliged me and went away to get the tools. While they were away, I tried to use my chainsaw to fulfill the task, but the trunk was too thick. I stopped the work and turned it off. I was wondering what was taking them so long. I was silently waiting for them. It was a 2-hour walk to the main road and back, but after 3 hours, I started to worry. I was unable to understand the reason for the delay. I took out my phone. My battery was extremely low. I quickly dialed one of the men, but his phone was turned off. Then I tried the other one and got the same result. I was extremely confused and worried. I decided to find a way. Surprisingly, it did not seem as tall as it was looking now. It had blocked such a long way, which was a bit astounding for me. I wanted to reach the other side, but there seemed to be no end to the tree. I kept on walking for 15 to 20 minutes, yet the way was still not over. I was tired and panting. I stopped for a moment to catch my breath. I looked at the sun. It was about to set. I realized the amount of danger I might be in if I did not get out of there in time. I tried to call them again, but still they were not answering their phones. It was getting darker and I still haven't found any way out. I was walking when suddenly, I felt as if I had heard someone at a distance. As I tried to focus on the sounds, I realized it was some kind of weird chant. I tried to keep low and followed the voice. As I got closer, I realized the voices were of some woman. It had gotten dark, and I was unable to light the torch from my phone as the battery was extremely low. I carefully walked toward the voice. As I got closer, I saw the fire from some distance. My instincts were telling me that it was not good, and I was trying not to be caught. As I came closer, I could see a woman standing in front of the fire, and she was performing some kind of a ritual. Her appearance was frightening. She was wearing a black cloak, and her hair was falling loosely. She was chanting and dancing around the fire. I carefully moved a little further, trying not to gain her attention. She was so engaged in her ritual that she did not notice me. I tried to find out what she was up to when something caught my attention. I saw both of my men tied and lying on the ground. They seemed unconscious. Their hands and feet were tied. I wondered how they ended up there, as I was unable to reach the other side. All of a sudden, she stopped dancing and bent down. As she stood up, I clearly saw a knife gleaming in her hands. She moved towards my fellows and made a cut on one of the men's arms. The blood started to ooze out. She quickly gathered it in some weird utensils and poured them onto the fire. This whole ritual looked very absurd to me, and I felt grossed out. I tried to think of something, but my mind was not working at all. I looked at my phone and then came up with something. But first, I had to maintain some distance from her, so I went a little further away from them. I took out my phone and looked at the signals. I was getting a few signals. I quickly dialed 911. After 2 or 3 rings, the call was received. I explained to them about my whereabouts and about that witch-like lady in the middle of the forest. When I was done with the call, I started to think about a rescue plan, as I could see that their lives were in great danger. I went to the place where I had left my chainsaw. There were some other small tools as well. I was thinking that it would take me an hour or so, but luckily it did not. I could not understand the reason, as earlier it had taken me quite a long time. I quickly picked up the chainsaw, my knives, and a crowbar. At the same moment, I started to run back to the place I had seen them earlier. Again, I took a long time to reach the place. I wondered about the reason. As I reached there, a shocking view was waiting for me. She was holding one of my men. He was sitting right in front of her, and she had a knife on his neck. He was not moving, must be unconscious. She was chanting loudly. Her chants were making my knees tremble. And suddenly, she slit his neck. A gush of blood started to ooze, and he fell to the ground. I wanted to scream, but I controlled myself, as I had to save the other one. I built up the courage and started to walk around. I wanted to attack her from behind. I silently and carefully walked, while keeping an eye on her. She was so involved in her ritual that she was fully unaware of me. As I was standing exactly behind her, I wanted to start moving toward her, but I was terrified. I gathered the courage and started. As I reached right behind her, I was about to stab her with the knife. But at the same moment, she turned around and hit me with the back of her knife. I was not ready for the attack that took me off my feet, and I fell to the ground. She came running toward me with the knife pointed at me, but I saved myself by inches. My knife had dropped farther from me. I stood up and made a run for it, but the witch was fast enough. She kept aiming at me, making it difficult for me to pick up the knife. Then I saw the chainsaw. I leaped toward it, but she was quicker. She picked it up before me. She picked it up and started it. She kept attacking me, and I was ducking her attacks. Suddenly, I tripped and fell. I knew it was all over me. I would be dead any second, and I closed my eyes. Suddenly, I heard 3 gunshots. As I opened my eyes, I saw her die right in front of me. The cops came running at me. They looked at the other man, and he was alive. As we were going back, there was no fallen tree as well. I kept my job as a woodcutter even after that, but luckily never came across such an event again. Did you think that was the end? The terror never ends. Subscribe to our channel to hear more horror stories, only on Ghost or What.